This will be a day long remembered. Now I am the master.
Welcome to another episode of Legends and Theories, and welcome to my review of the Senate arc. This is actually the last one in year one, and I thought this was just going to be one episode this week. But after looking over the episode, I realized it is really connected into the next two episodes I was going to review, which would have been the end of year one. And with this, I'm going to be taking a look at the three episodes involved with the Senate in terms of the meetings there and the building, not Palpatine himself. And with this, I'll be looking at heroes on both sides, Pursuit of Peace, and Senate Murders, which do have a loose connection through them, with the first two episodes being really connected, and the last one also swimming into this one, which actually shows the resolution of it, even though this was, I think, in season 2 or early season 3. I don't remember exactly when, but looking at it now, I was just looking to start the video up and I saw that this is one where the new character models actually are introduced, besides the one episode from season 2, which is what I saw in there. But it also says that basically now I'm not going to be jumping between the first 3 seasons to get episodes, and it's going to be a lot more linear from here since all the new character models have been introduced. And at this point, they went down to a more linear point of storytelling where they are just telling all the stories in order. Although there are a few examples of episodes that take place on a little bit different points, which the main example I can think of is the Martez sister arc happening before the Bad Batch arc. But that's something to talk about later as it's time to get into this arc. There are multiple bills on the floor in the Senate to escalate the war, including one to deregulate the banks and another one to go and increase the protection of clone troopers. And with this, the senators of Padme Amidala, Mon Mothma, Bail Organa, Anaconda Farr, and some others are strictly against this, thinking that they need to find a peaceful solution to the war, while people from the Banking Clan, Trade Federation, Techno Union, and Kaminoans, wanting more money for themselves, want this to be passed, and this will put more money in their pockets to gain from the war. And with this, Padme really does want to contact one of her friends who is in the Separatist, Mina Bonteri. At the same time, Anakin and Ahsoka were listening in on the Senate's meetings, and Ahsoka is very confused to what the war is about and doesn't really know what is going on. And Padme agrees to take Ahsoka under her wing to teach her a little more about the politics of the galaxy and why the war is being fought. And although Anakin is a little objective, he does let his secret wife go and mentor Ahsoka with this. Padme does convince Ahsoka to be able to get her to the separatist homeworld of Raxus so she can go and try and negotiate peace with her friend Mina. And although Ahsoka is reluctant, thinking that from her experiences of how evil all the separatists are, she goes and begins her journey to the planet, and once she arrives, she meets Mina and her family, and Ahsoka begins to have a strange connection with Mina's son Lux as Padme goes and begins to discuss potentially having peace with her longtime friend. At the same time, Ahsoka and Lux begin to discuss the stereotypes of each other and then realize that they are not too different and that the other side is not fully evil and there are good people on both sides of the war. They realize much more about each other and begin to have a strong connection. At the same time, General Grievous has been contacted by Dooku and the heads of the Trade Federation, Techno Union, and Banking Clan, who, desperate to have this law passed, think that an attack on Coruscant is the only way that it will be passed, and General Grievous executes a plan to send in a suicide bomber droid brigade and have them blow up the power station on Coruscant. And while this is happening, Mina Monteri and Padme both do agree that they need a peaceful solution to this war, and at the same time they go and Mina addresses the Senate of the Confederacy of Independent Systems. At this time, they fully agree that they should go for a more peaceful approach and want to go and negotiate with the Republic. And this pushes Dooku, his master Sidious, who is obviously Palpatine, a few members of the Banking Clan, Trade Federation, and Techno Union into fear that this war could be over, with the members of the different federations and unions and Banking Clan being afraid of losing the money, but it is far more terrifying towards Sidious and Dooku, who have planned to have this war be dragged out so the Jedi Order can be wiped out, and they are hoping that General Grievous's plan will fully work, because if it isn't, their entire plans can be derailed. And with this, Padme returns to Coruscant, where she goes directly to Palpatine to tell him about this, and then goes to the Senate to tell them about the potential peace offering and how these new bills will be pointless if they could create peace. Palpatine does have to play the facade that he is willing to go this route, and at the time the attack of the Separatists begin, as the power generator is destroyed and power goes out throughout Coruscant. This sparks great fear in the people, and Palpatine is secretly relieved that this has all worked out. Anakin is also furious at Padme and Ahsoka for going behind his back and doing something so risky. Things have begun to escalate even further with the fact that this attack has happened and people want even more to escalate this war. As Padme tries to reason with them, saying that this cannot have been the Separatists because this had to be someone trying to go and escalate the war, and the Separatists still have their peace offer, but we learn that Mina has been killed supposedly by a Republic attack, although it was clearly Dooku who had her assassinated, and Dooku says that the Confederacy of Independent Systems withdraws their offer for peace, which is pushing them farther and farther into wanting war. And with this, the group of senators now go and plan to try and find another way to get out of this bill being passed because the banks cannot be deregulated because that will just hurt the Republic far more. And when they meet with the members of the banking clan, they realize that the interest rate being placed on the Republic is going to be extremely high and could fully bankrupt the government with how much they're demanding. And this really terrifies the senators, and they begin to look for another way out of this. At the same time, many of the senators are going about their lives and are being attacked by bounty hunters that have been hired by Count Dooku, including Rubano and a Selkath, doing the main enforcement of this. And they are trying to scare the senators into backing this bill so the war could be escalated. And even though Anakandafar has been attacked, he decides that he just has to keep with his morals since he has already nearly betrayed the Republic, and many of the senators want to keep with their morals, not fearing what could happen, and Bail Organa prepares to address the Senate on this issue. Padme is attacked, forced to steal Speeder, which she gets arrested for, although things are quickly resolved after they realize what is going on, and she was just trying to flee from people who were trying to kill her. After Padme is with one of her handmaidens named Tekla, and she is telling Padme about how the war has affected her family, and Padme realizes the strategy can be used to show how this war is affecting the average people, and this can be extremely helpful to their cause, saying that they cannot deregulate the banks because this will just be hurting the people of the Republic even more. And this was originally going to be part of Senator Organa's speech, but when he is also attempted to be assassinated, he is severely injured and cannot give a speech. This leaves Padme as the one who has to give a speech, and although she is extremely terrified to do this, she goes and addresses the Senate, telling them about how this war has affected people like her handmaiden Tekla and how their families have been greatly suffering with this. Padme gains a lot of sympathy from the people, and the plan to deregulate the banks has been foiled. The people of the Republic vote to go and not deregulate the banks and to help people of the galaxy. And although Palpatine and Masmida are disappointed and a little angry about how the power of Padme and her willingness to take this down was able to get this revoked, but Palpatine knows that he needs to be playing the long game, and this ultimately won't matter in the end. And he is fully right, since there is also a bill to go and increase the amount of clone troopers being produced. And even though Padme and the fellow senators are against this, things begin to get more complicated when Anaconda Far drops dead in a meeting between the senators. Padme is saddened by the loss of Anaconda Far, who she saw as an uncle because of how close he was. Another person devastated is a Rhodian named Lolo, who was a close friend of Anaconda Far, and with this, Lieutenant Devo, an inspector on Coruscant, begins his investigation and is coming to the conclusion that this was a murder, and this surprises Padme and the other senators, and Padme plans to launch her own investigation into this. While looking into it, they go and want to question the members who are supporting this bill, since they seem like they're the most likely ones to have gone and attempted to assassinate Farr since he was against them politically. They go and question Senator Dici of Ibarra and Senator Bertoni of Camino, and both deny that they had anything to do with this. Dici does admit he had someone following Farr and he had a secret meeting at the docks. And with this, they go to the docks to investigate into this. As Padme and Bail are there, someone tries to kill them. This leads to Lieutenant Devo coming and being annoyed at them, but they quickly realize that Dici has set them into a trap and go to question him. Arriving at his office, they find that Dici has been murdered and are trying to figure out who this could have been. They were able to quickly narrow this down to Senator Bertoni, who has both been in the room when they were sent to the docks, and there's also a Kaminoan poison found in the blood of Anaconda Farr. And with this, they begin to question her as she denies that she did it, but Padme catches on to something. She realizes that the poison, which has been described as something that would kill any Rhodian, could not have been the cause of death, since Lolo was also there, and she would have drank from the drink that had poison in it also. Padme then begins to piece things together and realize that Lolo didn't actually drink from her drink, and Lolo reveals that she is the killer and wanted to kill Farr for betraying his people with the incident on Rhodia, where he nearly joined the Separatists, and she takes Padme hostage, although she is quickly taken down by some police droids and Padme, and although they have done a minor victory here, taking out the killer, they are devastated to learn that the bill has been passed to increase the number of clone troopers. Oh boy, this was a really long video for me. I did not expect it to take this long to recap this arc, but it is extremely heavily based on the narrative and politics of the galaxy, which, although interesting, it just took a while to go over because there are so many important details in these episodes, or many other ones. I could just go and summarize events with this series of episodes. It is extremely important to be going into detail, and these episodes are definitely unique, dealing with the politics of the galaxy, which are only dealt with in a few episodes. And with it, I think that we have some extremely interesting episodes here, although this definitely isn't my favorite. And honestly, I don't even mind the politics of the prequels too much. It sets up an interesting galaxy. This sets up how much more complex of a galaxy this is, and both how there are heroes on both sides, which was put in the crawl of Revenge of the Sith, and was the title of the first episode here, but also how there's also villains on both sides, which is shown with how the senators were extremely corrupt and have had some extreme reactions. This is also an extremely important arc to set up a few other ones in the future, including the one in season 6 or the Last Missions, where we see the entire one with the banking clan, which was likely Palpatine's backup plan. But we also get to see another one, which is the direct cause of the Umbara arc, with Umbara's senator being killed. This sets up one of the greatest arcs in the Clone Wars. And yeah, this wraps up the first year of the war, where although the war hasn't been fully escalated, there is still a pretty big push into it. And I think this is a really solid arc. It's, as I said, definitely not the best one, and it is definitely a lot more complex and not as easy to follow. But I think that is interesting to see. Yeah, I think it's time to go into my ranking. And with this, I think give this arc a score of 85.5. I think that it was extremely close, and I could have gone either way with it, but I think that it was definitely belongs there, and looking at the other episodes, I just had to decide where it would go, and with it, I knew it was going to be in the mid to upper 80s. It was definitely not going to make it into the 90s where there was arcs I loved, and starting around there, I saw the Hunter Grievous, and I just knew I couldn't have it there, and it didn't top either the Toydavia arc or Dooku Captured. And with it, I just thought that this was the best place for it. And although it is interesting and definitely unique, I think that this is a good place for it to be. One other thing I loved about this arc is that we got something really unique in this, in the fact that we got to see the development of everything with how people are not as black and white as they seem. This has been something that's starting to become more prevalent in Star Wars, where we get to see what some cultures are really like that we've just always assumed are evil cultures. Looking at it, we got some interesting developments into the Trade Federation and Nemoidians in the book Brotherhood, which I reviewed earlier this week. There is also development into the Tusken Raiders between the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett, which shows that they are not the evil savages that we've always assumed they are. And with this one, we get to see how the Separatists are not full of evil people and things are far more complex than many would assume. And it's something I really liked. I also like the development of the relationship between Ahsoka and Lux, which is something that's developed later and is put more on display in a few other ones, including the Andron arc, which this also sets up. And finally, I just want to say I really do enjoy Clone Wars, and I'm really glad that I get to do this series. And I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next episode of Legends and Theories. Thank you for watching this episode of Legends and Theories. Please subscribe, like the video, share the video, leave a comment, check out the video on screen, and may the Force be with you.